About what? About what? I would have to delete my VOD and everything. He better make it good. Hard to explain. Hi, Mega Milkers. Why are you in his chat? Is it because I banned all his sock accounts? Yeah. That is the problem, Levo. Uh, yeah, I know. I know. If it has nothing to do with the brain sizes, maybe I'll consider it. Diversity and immigration, he said. Oh, is that his current name until he gets banned again?
They just talk about shit that really isn't that interesting. But man, once you start talking about the things I talk about, you'll see people come into my channel and they stay here for hours on end, everybody. Because everybody loves to talk about this shit. Yeah, we agree. Muslims, on average, are not going to assimilate, and they're going to take over. They want to take over the world.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, hey there, bit. I'm going to call you Bet. Hey there, Bet. Bet, are you new? Do you have my Discord? Please, if anybody has my Discord, link them in, so that way, because obviously you're not allowed to say this stuff, are you, Bet? Nobody's allowed to say that Muslim immigrants do not have plans to assimilate, even though it's true. And freedom of speech is gone. So if you like my channel, please join my Discord, and you can keep up with us that way. Because, they ban me daily on here, basically.
I wonder
sometimes I'm
why.
able to go 2 or 3 days without being banned. Other times they ban me in a matter of 20 minutes. But if I get banned, guys, you'll see me back on here. I'm on here like every day right now. I have a lot of free time.
Dude cannot take a hint. Okay. He was banned already for a time. I know. He came here really early on in his first account, and I harassed him when he started streaming. He came on my fucking birthday. He came on my birthday and was bugging me about this fucking brain measuring skull bullshit. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that right now. And he just kept going. I'm like, no. So I fucking banned him from my chat. Like, take a hint. Take a hint. That's RPG with a deep voice. He's a lot more mask off than RPG. Alright, so. Let's do some research before we go ahead and do this. He better not bring up brain sizes, otherwise I'm going to have to delete my VOD. And I really, really don't want to do that. So let's get into United States Muslim assimilation diversity. Perfect. How America is transforming Islam. Being young and Muslim in the U.S. means navigating multiple identities. Nothing shows that more than falling in love. Taz Ahmed is 38, single Muslim, and Bengali. She describes herself as spiritual, but not particularly religious. When she was growing up, her immigrant parents hoped she would marry an IT worker they found for her in Oklahoma. I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. What do you even know about him? Ahmed recently told me, they're like, you're asking too many questions. You don't need to know this much information. Let's see. This seems like a pretty good article. It's so much easier if I would have. Okay. I just want to pull up a few things. And then I'm going to completely just... And I'm not even going to use these as the basis for anything. But yeah, let's have some fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is great. Mark Monkey actually has the courage to debate me, unlike the rest of all these other streamers in general. I mean, because Mark Monkey, all these guys, we talk about this. They talk this big game about fighting racism, but then they never come on and debate Pony Tony. You should be debating Pony Tony like every day, right, Mark Monkey, to fight this racism, to fight people like me. So yeah, give them the Discord and let's You should be in here every day to debate me, buddy. Where have you been? And why do you guys always ban people? Like, what's up with that? Like, rather than challenge people that disagree with you, you come into your channels and you always ban people. Like, what the fuck? Oh, I exist. I'm on here streaming every day, buddy. Don't you ever, listen to me? Well, obviously you don't, but I'm sure, I would think some of your viewers come in and like, oh, Pony Tony's debating again. So, yeah. I mean, you should be debating me literally every day, in my opinion, because, you gotta fight racism. Like, these liberals talk this big game about fighting racism and fighting white nationalism and white supremacy, but then, they're always, never in here debating it and challenging it. I mean, yeah, and why do I have to make new accounts? Because number one, there's no freedom of speech on Twitch. Number two, people like you are always banning people, dude. You never debate them. You're always banning people. No, on my turf. I'm not gonna mute you. No, you come to my turf because I'm not gonna mute you unless you go on huge name calling rants. If that's all you're gonna do during a debate, yeah, I might mute you for a minute. I mean, if I come into your Discord, are you gonna like? I mean, Mega Milkers. I let you have freedom of speech, but you can't be writing big messages like that. You write that again, really, I'm banning you. Well, if you won't mute me, I mean, I might say a little bit of name calling, but in general, we're gonna have a real talk here about the facts, hopefully. So, what's your Discord, Mark Monkey? As long as you don't constantly mute me, yeah, let's have a debate. And also, we gotta let each other talk. You know, like you talk about 20 seconds, I talk 20 seconds. One thing about me, Mark Monkey, is I get to the point very quickly. Some of these other people, you talk to them, and they try to lecture you for 1 to 2 minutes. Hopefully you're a smart guy and you get to the point like I do. But yeah, just give me your Discord, please, and we will come in. Alrighty.
All right, let me go ahead and. Okay. All right, let me just go ahead and. Let me see here. All right, let me just. I gotta do a thing really quick. This is gonna be a thing. All right, let's see if he's in there. Okay. Let me just stretch out a little bit. You guys ready? Let's have some fun.
It's like they make all these wussy excuses, in my opinion, not to let this happen. Yeah, hey, Mark Monkey.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. I don't know how you want to start off, but I always love to start off like hearing your history, how you came to your beliefs. Would you like to talk about?
Well, I grew up in a very mixed society. Everything from Muslim people to Hispanic, Latino,
Well,
Latinx people.
If you don't mind, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but where'd you grow up?
Flint, Michigan.
Okay, Flint. I mean, Flint is heavily black now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's about 68% black. It's kind of always been that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been a majority black community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been up there for work. I used to pave highways, and I was up there for work. But anyways, like you grew up in Flint. Now, when you went to high school, did you? I bet you probably did not go in a majority black community high school, did you?
It was really mixed, but it was split pretty evenly, honestly.
Yeah, that's interesting because the thing is, like, I've seen studies about diversity. For example, in England, approximately 1/3 of the community becomes Muslim, all the white people leave. It's called white flight. You've heard of that before, right?
Yeah, I have.
It's white flight, by the way, everybody, is a very famous social science term. Even Democrats know about it usually, which is kind of interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, it's like Detroit, right? Detroit is 90% black. And if diversity is really working, why on earth is it like that? What do you think, Mark Monkey?
Well, what exactly do you mean working? Working for what?
Well, if diversity was working logically, then it would be like if all races are the same, then you would look at the world and we would randomly live around each other. It would just be totally random because it wouldn't matter. Like you would look at any, if blacks are 13% of the population in America, then in general, you would look at any place in America or any high school or anywhere, and it would be 13% black. You know what I mean? Because it just wouldn't matter because all races are identical. See what I mean?
Well, if you're getting into the history of how people end up places, there's actually a really extensive history connected to things like jobs, like a number that happened, especially in Flint. Like that's how we got a lot of our majority black population through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, was they came up here to pursue union jobs with GM. But GM, of course, lobbied Flint to create a redlining district in the North End, and also petitioned General Motors to keep them out of the union. And that was the only way that they were allowed to at least have the jobs, but they weren't union jobs. So they were paid less.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree that redlining happened. And have you ever heard my channel? Have you ever listened to me at all?
Just that one night.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no surprise. I mean, I hate to say this, I really do. It's not like I say it because I love to say it, but unfortunately, if you look at black areas, they have really high crime, and the truth is, people don't like to live around high crime. I mean, everybody knows what I just said is incredibly logical, but the Democrats are not willing to ever have a logical conversation about this, guys. I
Actually, we
mean,
have a
if white
conversation
people,
about that all the time, but the problem is that people like to classify it based solely on race and don't look at other factors that come into play when you talk about crime.
oh, well, I debate this all the time. I mean, I talk to hundreds of Democrats over the years. But the thing is, Mark Monkey, at the end of the day, nobody really. I mean, look, we can debate why. I have my theories why. Okay, but anyways, the point is, it really doesn't matter why. What matters is nobody wants to live around high crime. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't hear people say, "Well, black people have high crime because of this, so I'm going to move to the black area." They just don't move there because they don't want to live around it. You know what I mean?
Well,
I
not
mean, wouldn't you kind of agree with
necessarily.
that?
Not necessarily, because they live in highly populated cities. So one could actually make the argument that actually everybody wants to live in those areas because they're highly populated areas. But then we can get into a conversation about how poverty is concentrated and population density, plus poverty usually is what creates crime more than anything. And you're going to rob your neighbors more than anything if you are in that sort of vicinity. If your lack of opportunity
Yeah.
is there, plus you have people in very crowded spaces, they're going to start acting out against each other, which is a huge problem in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we
Now,
get into a
let me see this.
conversation about economic inequality, though.
I mean, obviously, I've debated hundreds of liberals and Democrats, and I've heard this theory, but I've
It's
seen a
it's not
lot
a
of
theory, though.
videos.
It's not a theory, though. This has
Well,
been proven.
well, I would, me and you maybe because we love that we like to study politics. We should like maybe Google or study this together. But I've seen
One thing.
videos like
Okay, can
little.
can I can I can I set a ground rule real quick? I
Go
don't want
ahead.
to hear. I don't want to have to delete my VOD. So nothing about brain sizes, please.
Well, I know, but if we don't ever talk about some of these factors, then we just can't ever have an honest
Mm,
conversation in a way, though.
but no.
But you're not going to get deleted, man. Believe me. Nobody on Twitch is like. I have conversations with Free Detroit all the time. They're not going to delete you over like. I mean, they're not going to come after you over this, man.
Why does your channel get deleted?
Oh, because everybody reports me. If they didn't report me, everybody's tattletelling on me because everybody hates I'm the only person who really talks about this stuff. I
Uh,
mean, you have to agree, probably to some extent, that there's not like super serious conversations happening about race on the Democratic side.
no, that's not
I
true at all.
mean, well, then why does nobody ever bring up race and brain size on
Because that's
when they
not a
talk
serious
about this?
concept. Like if you know anything about medical, which
But
I do,
they should at
you know
least bring
that
it
it.
up.
Hold on. If you know anything about anything medical, which I do, My wife's a nurse. You know, I have had medical education. I worked as a CNA for 6 years. Like, you have to have some medical understanding in order to do these jobs. And you know, my future is I'm going to be a nurse. You know, I've learned more than I've had biology 102 at this point in my life. So let me tell you. Let me just kind of spell this out for you. Brain size does not equate to intelligence. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Let me respond.
even
Okay, hold
even
on.
if
Let me
what you were saying
respond.
was true, it doesn't matter how
Hold
big
on.
somebody's brain is.
Okay, well, you talked about 30 seconds, so if I may, let me respond, okay? Now,
Okay.
let me clarify this for you. I've studied this over 10 years, and there's a correlation between brain size and intelligence of 0.44. So I repeat, everybody, people have studied this. They've used MRI scans. There's a correlation between brain size and intelligence within humans of 0.44. This is well disproven, and also it's
By
very
who?
obvious if you
Ha,
look at the races that have the smaller brain size. They get the lowest grades every single year, Mark Monkey. So logic is not on your side.
and you're saying that because that
I
correlates
mean,
to black people, that's inherently why they get lower grades, right? It has totally nothing to do with having inadequate schools, overcrowding in classes, poverty-stricken areas, the connection of school funding to property values, which would inherently create a race to the bottom for all the schools based on that if they're in low poverty or in high poverty areas, because your property values would decrease and thus decrease the funding of schools. That has nothing to do with it. All of this, by the way, is
yeah,
actually true and actually proven and actually written into our tax code. But yeah, please go off, King.
yeah. Anyways, you talked about 20, 30 seconds. Please let me respond. No, it doesn't, because I can show you a link right now from the Journal of Black Higher Education, and they talk about this. That did you know that whites who come from families that make than $10,000 a year, which is incredibly, they are getting better SAT scores than black people who come from families that make 100,000 a year. So they've already done studies like this, Mark Monkey. In the 70s, they would take black people, they would put them in really good schools and then test their IQ, and the IQ did not change. As a matter of fact, are you aware, have you ever heard this before, Mark Monkey, that the general consensus within the scientific community is that intelligence is 80% genetic and 20% environment now? Have you ever heard anybody say that to you before?
I've heard it from the bell curve, but it's largely been debunked like years
Who
ago.
debunked it? Who debunked it?
Several scientists have debunked it.
Ah! Oh God, I talk about this on my show, everybody, all the time. When they say somebody
Let me.
debunked it,
Okay.
and then they
Okay.
ask,
Before you go on your next rant, let me just go ahead and ask this question: how exactly did they
yeah.
determine IQ? What did they use?
Well, there's tons of ways to test IQ, and everything converges to what's called the general factor. So, what do you want? What are you talking about?
How did they? How did they find out that these people had low IQs versus high IQs? What determination did they use?
Well, they use a thing called IQ testing.
What IQ tests? Which one?
Let me ask you, if you know so much about this, let me ask you a question. And anybody who's ever studied IQ would know this basic answer. What's the IQ test they give to people now? What's it called?
God, what's the one? Something Briggs. That's the general one, but there are a couple of them.
No, the most common IQ test that they use now. I mean, no offense, but I can tell you don't really study this. Remember, I've studied this 10 years, Mark Humphrey. The most common IQ test is called the Raven Progressive Matrix Test. It's all symbol. There's no English in it whatsoever. It can't be racist because it's just symbol. So that's why, like, even science, by the way, if you really study IQ testing, there's no debate within the genetic world that this isn't true. The only debate is within the public, and then you have these left wing so called professors, which are basically are in the fringe, So basically, 95% of people within the community agree with me, and only like a small percentage of lefties, they say it's pseudoscience, but then you quiz them and they don't know anything about it. I mean,
Uh,
no offense, but you didn't even know what the latest test they use is.
what did you say it was?
It's called the Raven Progressive Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a test that can't be racist because it uses symbols. And also,
So not the Wechsler adult intelligence scale.
no.
Hmm.
I mean, they may use that in the past, but
Hmm.
I'm pretty much 99% positive the most famous, and the test they use is called the Raven Progressive Matrix Test. It's based completely on symbols. There's no questions about culture. There's no way it can theoretically be racist. And Mark Monkey, if, you know how these liberals and Democrats say that, the IQ testing is racist. First of all, they only say that because they don't like the results that they always get. And second, don't you think that black scientists, they've went around testing black people themselves? I mean, if it was racist, then why would black scientists not go around doing IQ testing to disprove it? But they don't. You know why, Mark Monkey? Because the black scientists know as well as everybody, if they go and actually do the test, they're going to find the same results everybody else did. I mean, did you know that there's been over 500 tests over the past 100 years on race and IQ if you study it? Did you know there's been that many?
Did you know that there's studies that actually have proven that the tests don't measure anything except for how people do on the test, and it also doesn't measure how people's intelligence can actually grow over time. There's no actual way to measure that.
Well, a
Like the
person's
people that
IQ.
actually give these tests actually have to tell people that before they get the test that no, this doesn't determine anything except for how you do on this test at this time in your life. Like it doesn't have anything to do with your potential or anything you did beforehand. That's why people who are normally rich and white do better because they've already had higher levels of schooling at that point. They have less on their minds that can, because there's a number of things that can actually get in the way of your test taking. Say you're really stressed out, you can't sleep, you don't eat properly. And these are all things that predominantly affect what? Poor people. So if you're poor, you're going to do worse on the test. So to go ahead and just say that, oh, this is just the truth and this is just what it is, it's not even true according to the people that give the tests. They have to tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, first of
I'm just
all, I
wrong,
don't
right? And
even.
you're not even gonna. You're just gonna say I'm wrong, right?
Well, we're debating, Mark Monkey. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Just please let me
It,
talk as
it's
long as
it's
you.
it's not a matter. It's not a matter of like, and us disagreeing on anything. It's just you're saying things that just are inherently untrue and easily disprovable. Like the brain thing, I've
Well,
already disproven that by knowing higher than basic biology.
okay.
This thing on IQ tests, I've already disproven by pointing out that that's not what IQ tests do based on the people who give them and what they have to tell people about those tests at the time. So we're
Okay.
kind of stuck with
Okay. Hold
where
on.
are you
You're
in your
starting.
discussion?
Hold on. You're starting to go on a big monologue. You just talked literally for over a minute straight. So, are you going to let me talk for a minute
There's a
straight,
reason for
please?
that. There's a reason for that. I mean, I've let you
Why
talk quite a
you
bit,
have to
so
talk over me to win the debate? Is that?
no. The reason for
Well,
that
I'm
is
trying to be fair here. You talked for about a minute. May I respond?
you gish gallop though. Like you try to fit
Oh
in
my
like
God!
20 different things that I have to respond to.
Wait,
I'm trying to
what
ask
are
you
you
one
doing?
simple question and you won't answer it.
When you talk over me for a minute and a half in a row, can you respond? I already said it to you 3 times.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, go on
I,
your monologue then.
I didn't say this to you. I didn't talk for a minute straight and then not let you respond. This isn't like you said it'd be fair. Come on.
You didn't respond to
Now,
any of
first of
my
all,
questions.
well, can I talk now, please?
Will you answer my
You know,
questions? Are we going to
yeah,
talk to
yeah.
each other or at each other? Because
Can
I'm
I
responding
talk?
directly to what you're
Oh
saying.
my! Everybody who's listening knows you're not. Everybody knows it. Can you
Mm-hmm.
let me talk for a minute? I had to sit here and listen to you. What you got to do there is sit back and let me respond and be fair and not interrupt me while I'm in the middle of talking. So first of all, I'm going to respond now. First of all, you're easily wrong. There's been 500 tests on IQ that have shown you're wrong. There's a very famous test done by the U.S. government back in the 1940s that showed the same results that everybody gets today. Ashkenazi Jews have the highest IQ average of 115. I mean, Mark Monkey, I will let you talk a minute. Well, but do you even know the other side of the story? What the numbers are? Like Ashkenazis, Jews have the highest IQ at 115. Have you ever heard of that before?
I have heard that. I also have heard the things that disprove that. If you want me to, I can
Well,
pull
that's
it up.
great. I'm just wondering if an expert is very well aware of both sides of the story. So, like, if you're
Yeah, so
really
you know
an
how
expert,
you know how it
you're
was
well
debunked,
aware.
right? You know how it was debunked, and it hasn't been proven to be true ever since. Like it was
I mean,
debunked in the late '90s.
black people get the lowest grades every single year. Well, how's it debunked?
I already
You live
addressed
in
that. I already addressed
wait,
that.
wait.
I already addressed that. Do you want me? Do you want me to repeat myself? I will. I
Okay, so
okay.
by the way, is your theory that all races have the exact same IQ? Is that what you believe?
I don't believe the IQ is measurable because it's not capable of measuring your ability. If it's anything, it measures what you do on that specific test at that specific time in your life. It's a snapshot of something that in the long range of things doesn't mean all that much. It doesn't tell you
Okay,
whether or
now
not you're going to be. Hang on. Hold up. It doesn't tell you anything about whether or not, you're really good at fixing cars, but if you're bad at math, you're not going to do well on it. It doesn't say anything about whether or not you're going to be able to write the next great American novel, but it tests you on things that don't have anything to do with that. It doesn't measure your actual ability. What it measures is a snapshot in time on one specific
okay,
thing, nothing
okay.
else.
Can we make a rule that, like, I thought when you respond, can you make it about 15, 20 seconds, and I get to respond? Can we
No,
do that?
no,
Why? Because
because
you don't
there's
like fair
cause,
debate. You don't like the debate fairly, dude.
no. It's
You
actually
don't like
because
you like to overtalk people, don't you, Mark?
I'm trying to explain why this is a bad idea. I'm trying to.
Now we know why he wanted it on his terms, everybody. Because he wants to
No,
talk over people and
I
not let
don't.
other people respond.
I've
Why can you not be fair about this?
I've got people
Why can you
that
not be a fair debater? Why can you not be a fair debater,
I'm
Mark Monkey?
I'm
What is going on?
trying to explain everything, and you're just talking over me like Jesus
No,
Christ.
you let me talk back. Everybody knows that you're talking over me, and you're not letting me respond.
You're
Everybody
making
knows that.
accusations at me. You're making accusations at me, and you're
Everybody
not even like.
knows that. Look, everybody knows. Okay, I'm going to respond now. So please have the courtesy to be quiet. Now, if you study IQ testing, everybody, the numbers match up perfectly. If you study American schooling, Ashkenazi Jewish people get the highest grades. They also get the highest grades on IQ testing. If you study IQ testing, Black Americans get the lowest grades. They also get the lowest on IQ testing. So he can't dispute this, that the IQ testing matches up perfectly with grade scores. I mean, you can't be honest about that, Mark Monkey?
I already have, like I said. Am I able to
No,
actually?
you haven't. Do black people, if you study American schooling, do black people get the lowest grades every single year? True or false?
Along with poor white kids that are in the same area.
Poor white kids do not have the same rates of the literacy.
In the same area?
As a matter of fact, did you see that even Candace Owens was talking about this? She's a black person. That 75% of black boys that are graduating in California right now are functionally illiterate. I bet you didn't hear about that, did you, Mark?
I do know about that. I also know why. I'm trying to tell you why, but you keep interrupting me.
Okay, but you at least agree it's true. So he at least admits it's true. That's important.
I wouldn't not agree it wasn't true. I can't. I could actually say that it's true in my city too, because we're a high poverty area, and our schools have been defunded to the point where we used to have 6 different school districts here. Our population has only dropped by like maybe 1,000 over the past 10 years, and now we're down to 2. That says a lot about how schools are funded in low poverty areas.
Hold on, God damn, dude. Did you talk like forever? So are you actually saying white people that highlight you? See what I mean, guys? Because if you study poor white areas of America, you will never see that 75% of them can't read. You did hear me earlier. I can show you a link right now from the Journal of Higher Black Education, which is a black group, and they're talking about this stuff. That a white kid that comes from a poor family that makes less than $10,000 a year, on average, gets an SAT score that's 60 points higher than black people that come from families that make $100,000. Did you hear me say that?
I did.
So if your argument is true, then why are white kids that are poor getting higher grades than black kids who come from families that make $100,000 a year? It's so easy to disprove your arguments. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so while you're doing your victory lap after everything you say, I'm trying to respond to you. I'm trying to respond to you. I'm trying to talk to you. Okay? So I keep saying it, and if you were actually listening to me, rather than trying to jump onto your talking points, you would have heard me say, from the same area. Poor white kids from the same area at the same income level as black kids from the same area at the same income level do just as well and have just as much of a likelihood to end up in a life of crime. It's because of lack of opportunity and the fact that, poverty and population density leads to more crime. I said this way in the beginning. This is what I've been trying to tell you from the beginning, and you just ignored it.
No, I heard you. What, you think I didn't hear you? What are you talking about? I heard you loud and clear.
But you're ignoring it.
It's just there's no proof.
You're pretending like I didn't say that. There's no proof of that?
It's true. I already disproved it.
Because based on a study from the 1940s that uses outdated measurements during a time of segregation, that's your truth right there. But no, when I point out actual facts from actual studies from these days, not from fucking 1940, all of a sudden you have the more relevant facts, right?
Well, hold on, everybody. Listen to this.
Oh, you are silly, bud.
He's actually making the claim that there's studies showing that all races have the same IQ. Can you show it?
No, that isn't what I said. That isn't what I said.
What studies are you talking about? You just talked about studies. What studies are you talking about?
I never said that there was a study proving that all races have the same IQ.
You were just talking about studies, but you can't talk about the studies you were bringing up. What are you talking about?
Can I finish?
I mean, you're not looking very good here, Mark Monkey. You just talked about studies that you know about, but then you can't even bring them up. What studies were you talking about? I mean, by the way, there's a study, guys. There's been over 500.
Oh God! This is getting to the point of pointless, bud. This is getting to the point of pointless. Tony. We're gonna cut to the shit. We're gonna cut the shit completely out of this. There is no point in fucking talking to you. You would do much better arguing with a straw man, because you have made so many dubious claims about everything I've said. I never once said that every single race has the same IQ. I said IQ is not measurable. The ability to measure IQ doesn't measure goddamn shit. This is what I said. So the whole idea. Can I finish? Can I finish? I let you fucking monologue like 20 fucking times. Are you kidding me?
No,
Jesus.
I haven't talked nearly as long as you.
All right.
You were on for over a minute.
You know what?
Now, first of all, everybody, the IQ test.
Goodbye. What is the point of that? He tells me that I'm interrupting him, and he interrupts me every 10 seconds. What is the point of that? And he's putting words in my mouth. That's all he's doing. And he's going to claim victory. I know he is. But I don't care. That went exactly how I thought it was going to go. That went exactly how I thought it was going to go. He's like, oh, well, he kept interrupting. He kept interrupting me. And he kept ignoring everything I was saying. Like, seriously. I'm sitting there saying, no, you can't actually measure IQ and the way that you say you can. Because we can't measure potential. We can't measure people's potentiality to learn, potentiality to increase IQ, whatever the fuck that even means. We're not able to do that. We're able to measure people's ability to achieve based on one metric, where they grow up. Their zip code determines more of how they're going to turn out when they grow up than anything. And that's for white, black, Muslim, whatever. So this idea that you can just say IQ and IQ determines everything is fucking bullshit. And it's been disproven. It's almost like there's been more studies that have been done since the 1940s. Since segregation era, since Jim Crow era. Like, he's not looking at the fact that, hey, maybe that had something to do with it. Or maybe it had something to do with cherry-picked data at the time to prove, at a time when we were at our most white supremacist, that it's okay. It's okay for us to feel this way. It's okay. It is absolutely okay. And this is why the one time that I talked to him on his stream, I sent him a link to the Sean video that covers all of this. Covers all of it. All I was going to do was click through all these studies on the Sean video. Because Sean linked them. And they're newer than fucking 1940. Like, this is goddamn ridiculous. And if you're just going to shout over me and accuse me of monologuing in your monologue, there's no point in talking to you. I have no interest. None. Eat my ass. Like, God, that was worthless. That was absolutely pointless. I don't even know why I did that. I thought maybe we could have like a calm conversation. Because, if people have been to my channel before, know that that's what I want. I don't care if you don't agree with me. Just, don't be a fucking dickbag about it. Shouting over me every time I'm trying to speak and then, talking about things that I never said. Like, oh, you just think that everyone has the same IQ. No, I think fucking IQ is not real. It's not measurable. It's literally not. And you know who's made that determination? The people who give IQ tests, the people who study the shit, have said, no, don't take this as a determination of your ability to achieve. Because your intelligence is not actually measurable. It's not measurable. Because it can change. And who's to say that the person who's really good at fixing a car is somehow dumber inherently than the person who's building a jet or making a computer? All of these things are inherently, things that you need to be intelligent. Freems, why did I do that?
I'm just going to tell you, man. Obviously, you ain't studied enough. And I've studied. I know about this because I've studied it.
For 10 years.
On YouTube. Dude, I went the fuck off on him whenever I was on Johnny Scarlett's stream and he came in the chat. I just went the fuck off.
Why did I do that, bud? Why did I do
tried
that?
to tell you not to. I was going to debate. I was going to do it off stream.
I mean,
and he couldn't get his microphone to work.
I mean, the thing was, somebody came to me. We were going over Birdie's win. I was talking about Bloomberg and shit, and somebody was just like, "Pony Tony wants to debate you." And I'm like, "Fucking why?" Says specifically me, and I'm like, "All right, fine."
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
I just like I didn't even like debate him at all. I just roasted him in chat. I was like, I would rather debate one of my own farts because it would be a more educational conversation.
you know what? You're not wrong. Because like,
Even like the studies, like there are newer studies I've heard him point to before, but even like when you pull up the whole case study on it, like their conclusion is like although they did find like something that had to do with the some kind of like neuro pattern in different races' brains, that it didn't take into account for the other like 100 things that also change, like things like IQ and intelligence, things like that. Like it's more than just that one thing that changes it.
I mean, my overall point is like to point out that there have been several studies that prove that population density and poverty have much more of a reason to do with crime or people having bad education. Like, he can't even see the fact that, like, the fact that our schools are funded by property values, and he's just like, well, you know, that's just because they're dumber. It's like,
Yeah,
that's your argument. And I knew as soon as he said Ashkenazi Jews, he was going to talk about that study from the 1940s. I'm like, all right. But then he went on. Well, the one that when I was just done was when he told me that oh, you just think that every single fucking race has the same IQ. I'm like, no, I never made that claim because I don't believe IQ exists. It's sort of like saying, oh, you believe every Christian goes to heaven. No, I don't believe in heaven. Why would I make that claim?
so Frozen banned a person, but they said it show Asian is the highest and Africa is the lowest. How come Nigerian immigrants are doing better than any other race in America?
Well, clearly our standards have dropped so far, and it probably has something to do with our race mixing.
So the reason why,
Oh god, Lord and
Mexican.
Rain want to come in.
Well, let me finish real quick,
All
and
right.
then the reason why like Latin American immigrants don't do as well as like Asian immigrants or Nigerian immigrants is because it's usually poorer people from Latin America coming over, where in Asia and Nigeria, like it's literally the top of like the rich people from those areas coming over that are already they're either coming over because they got a our government brought them over or because they were rich and already intelligent. So it's already like they already have the upper hand. Like, but Nigerian immigrants are doing better than any other ethnicity right now.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. Like that isn't even a point that I could even get to if he brought up the Asian thing, because I know that too. That like the
Well, I
biggest
was
reason.
answering someone in your chat. Frozen had
Oh,
already
okay.
banned their messages, but where I'm a mod, I can see it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I feel like it would have gotten there if he didn't want to act like a giant baby about everything and accuse me of treating him unfairly. Yeah, I'm gonna bring Lord and Rain in.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I mean,
How are you, Frames?
I troll him and cuss and yell and scream at him just to piss him off, and I report him every time he's streaming, and it's funny because I constantly check the politics category to see if he's streaming, just to report him for like the ban of Asian and being a literal racist Nazi.
Yeah. I mean, like, what pissed him off is I told him I didn't want to hear him talk about, because originally the discussion was going to be about immigration and diversity, which I could actually have an interesting conversation with someone about that. Probably not him, but I feel like I could steer it in a way where it'd be interesting for my viewers. But, I told him flat out I didn't want him talking about brain sizes because it's bullshit.
Fucking phrenology and IQ shit.
Yeah. 19th century bullshit, like OG eugenistic crap.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I tried to attack it from a purely biological angle, where I was like, look, there's no biological proof that intelligence is directly linked to the size of your brain, even if I were to believe what you say to be true, that, black people have smaller brains than white people. Because we know that size of the brain does not determine jack shit about your intelligence. A human brain is capable of storing a lot of information.
Yeah.
Otherwise, fucking short people would be way dumber than tall people.
Yeah. More than that, there is more differences between genders than there is between ethnicities. So, that would mean that,
and that can even be argued to be societal.
Significantly. Sorry, what?
And that can even be argued as societal in a lot of ways.
Also, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm only talking about brain sizes. Like, there is a significant difference between female and male in brains weight, not even size, weight. Between male and female, women don't have a significant difference in intelligence to men. Some say.
That's not true, but yeah.
I've heard a variation of that.
There is different brain sizes between different races and genders, but it doesn't have anything to do with IQ as the science.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
It's 8 to 13%.
Right, yeah, it's such a small amount for sure. But then they use that science, and then they like even if you read the whole case studies, they say and that doesn't even factor in the other 100 things it could be.
Yeah.
The problem with focusing on, for example, the different brain sizes in male and female is also that we've been seeing a lot of medical science trying to biologically prove the validity of transgender identities, and that, which it does to a degree. Like if you do, for example, brainwave scans, you can see that transgender women and cisgender women have the same brain patterns, and transgender men and cisgender men have the same brain patterns. So
right, yeah, the patterns have way more to do, are way more important than the size of the brain itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like the bullshit that Destiny was talking about when he and I engaged about the slight difference in pneumothoracic capability between males and females. It's about 10% difference in lung sizes on average, which of course doesn't take into consideration the low range or the high range. We're only ever talking medians, and it's that was his argument for transgendered women not competing with women in sports because they're biologically males and have an advantage. That sort of bullshit.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's why I like the argument about at the very top and at the very bottom these things can exist, but is it possible for a woman to have more lung capacity than the average man? It's yeah, it is possible, because there is going to be a higher range to the upper echelon of female body parts and everything, but this whole thing where it's this gives them an advantage is silly, and to equate it to even IQ of all things, which IQ drives me nuts. I don't understand how people believe that IQ exists.
Well, it exists, but it doesn't. It measures what those folks think it measures.
Yeah, like I told him, it measures how you do on this test at this specific time. Yes. Beyond that, you could, 20 years down the line, if you learned a bunch more or you learned a lot less and your mind basically turned to mush, you're either going to do better or worse on it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that you at one point did not do that test at that level. It just meant at that point you did it at that level. And then beyond that, life changed. It's almost like society has a lot more to do with it than anything else. It's
not just that. It's so many other things to take into consideration. Medically speaking, take the military for example. Medically speaking, we are entirely capable of measuring certain things about human beings objectively, such as visual acuity, response times, response and reaction times.
I'm not ignoring you,
physical
Chad. I'm
strength,
just talking.
things
It's
like
okay.
that. We're entirely capable of measuring those things, and when we do, we can see that natal male and natal females are different, but we can also see that there's still a massive range, a massive span, a full spectrum between the low end and the high end. And of course, unfortunately, we do have to admit certain things, like when we study grip strength between males and females. If you take 1,000 males and 1,000 females, unfortunately, by and large, the natal males are going to be, several percent more capable on overall grip strength than women. But what does that actually measure outside of just grip strength?
Yeah, and even then,
what is that?
there's crossover.
Yeah, and there is crossover, and there are women who have stronger grip strength than men, and women who definitely don't. And you would see people argue these things, like, for example, even on the low end, there's potentially an 8% increase in total cranial mass with the brain over all women compared to men. But what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Right? My wife's a chemist, so it's like utterly meaningless.
I'm just updating my title. I'm probably spelling your name wrong, Lord, but they know who you are.
It's okay.
Look, I'm only French by heritage. Bear with me.
Yeah, and see,
the worst possible angle. It's my fault.
You can choose your control. You can choose your variables. You can choose the means of testing. You can choose the means of recording your data. And all of those things can be controlled and manipulated, right? It used to be, for example, the whole red coloring dye scare, red food coloring scare. Oh, it causes cancer. How did you test that exactly? Several thousand lab rats, and you gave them the equivalent of making a normal human being drink 76 2-liters a day for 30 days in a row before they got cancer? Right, but you didn't mention that. You just mentioned that red food coloring causes cancer. You didn't mention that you gave a hyper concentrated daily dose of that, equivalent to the tune of drinking 75 2-liters of soda per day for a human being every single day for a month, to an animal, and killed it. But oh no, hey, look, we've discovered that this thing causes cancer. Potentially, sure, probably. If a human being were to drink several thousand bottles of 2-liter with red food coloring in it, I mean, we're talking 8,000, 9,000 bottles of 2-liter, sure. And that's the thing. Like, you can just completely discredit anything he has to say by, like, okay, well, source your studies. And when we're saying source your studies, we mean, what was their control? What was their variable? What was their sample size? What was their means of testing? What was their means of data control and recovery? What exactly was the testing that was being done? What was the end goal of the study? Because sometimes we can see studies that they push out an end goal that has absolutely nothing to do with the study itself, just to get the government funding.
True. And I mean, that's something I tried to point out in the beginning. Like, I was calmly asking, it was like, okay, how did they determine that? What tests did they use? And it just became this monologue about how, well, you probably don't even know what test specifically is the most popular, and therefore you don't know anything about this, but I've studied this for 10 years. But I'm the one that monologues. I'm the one that's monologuing for 20 minutes.
That's really ruffles your feather there.
Yeah, like, I'm sitting there listening to the guy, and, like, all he's doing is, like, fucking dragging me through the mud and, going on and on about how little I know about the subject without even answering my fucking question.
No offense, though. No offense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he did kept saying no offense.
You shouldn't give him a platform.
No, I was bored.
He's literally one of those people that should be deplatformed. And as we know, canceling doesn't work. Deplatforming does.
Yes, it does.
So
just ask Milo.
I don't know. You might disagree with this, but I think platforming that guy might be more helpful because he's such a fucking idiot that can't, like, substantiate anything.
I'll tell you what,
watching him though.
I'll tell you what, my viewer numbers went up more while talking to him than his did.
I've never heard, even like the right wingers I know are like, fuck that guy.
Except for RPG, but we can't talk about him.
Does RPG like him?
Probably loves him.
Money that RPG would enjoy conversations with him, because RPG is also a literal Nazi. But unfortunately, I also can't call for people to do things on the platform.
Speaking of which, we haven't seen a lot of Mika's fanboy recently.
Wait, what?
We haven't seen a lot of Mika's fanboy recently, have we?
No.
Huh.
What now?
No, he's disappeared. A few people have actually disappeared. I think like Men has been gone. Micah's fanboy's gone. Level, I think it was at 3 Witch Doctor. I haven't seen around. And all I did was time him out a couple of times when he got a little too much. Like, we have TP, T Pincheon.
Yep.
I guess
TP everywhere.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah, sadly, Igloo says, sadly, Sam Cedar isn't.
Yeah. Sam's been banned from like so many Twitch chats.
He's not banned.
I do actually legitimately think that I'm gonna reach out to Twitch here in a couple days and be like, y'all really need to do something about this, because this individual is extremely dangerous and toxic to the platform.
I will say, like, I was about ready to hop in his Discord, and when I saw like he had it up on his screen, I saw it and I was like, wait, where have I seen that before? And it was in one of your posts where you talked about how that Discord is at, and I'm like, I don't want my name attached to that Discord, so he can come to my Discord. Like, I don't want that. And I even tried to explain that to him. Like, he tried to call me a wimp because I didn't want to go in his. He's like, oh, so you want all the control? I'm like, well, I mean, yes, but no. Did I want to be able to kick him like I ended up doing? Sure. But the thing is, like, my more bigger concern, because I would much rather that conversation went better than it did, and he just walk away generally embarrassed, and me not, fucking shaking with like just anger at how stupid everything was.
By the
way,
but the Ashkenazi Jews go higher.
You want to put something up on screen for me? Because Freems hasn't seen this yet.
Sure.
I linked it in chat.
Oh, yeah, your car. Yeah. I'm so sorry to see that.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. Sorry, I got a bunch of stuff up.
Is that a Charger?
Oh,
no. That's our car.
That's a Charger, right?
Yep, Dodge Charger, 2012.
Yeah.
Was it like a fender bender?
No, he straight plowed into her, and
Scuff Lefty, did you change your name?
Scuffed Dario.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
I was at home, and the little one was on the couch watching TV, and I got a call. She'd been hit by another individual. She's mentally and emotionally not all that great. She has a broken ankle. Lot of pain there because she slammed on the brakes and slipped off, and then when he hit her, all the airbags deployed in the vehicle. But it's probably a total write-off. So
you guys have full coverage?
Yeah, we do. I'm
That's
joyous being a veteran. I've got USAA.
Nice. I did. I finally got my old Twitch account back and couldn't change this one to Scuffed Lefty, so I'm just Dario now. Oh, okay. Fair.
What up, Kylo?
Kylo, yeah. God, somebody said that in my chat too. It was like, that dude looks like Kylo Ren, and I'm like, he's aware.
Yeah, he looks like Adam Driver. He's well aware.
Oh yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know. I consider it a moment of weakness, because you guys know I don't like doing that type of stuff. But I was like, maybe because I had heard from a couple of you that it ends in screaming matches, and I was like, well, I can see how it can, but if I can, I like to think that I can be someone who can control it in a way where it's not going to become that. But I kicked him before I went full on screaming.
Mark.
Yeah.
Do you know the definition of insanity?
It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting shit to change.
Mm. You know that's not true, right?
Actually, no, but it's from Far Cry. Shut up.
Well, actually,
are you about to mansplain to the only trans woman in the channel? Really? Are you about to? I will take you to task. What a Weasley little mansplainer, dude. What a Weasley little mansplainer. God, Weasley little mansplainer, dude.
Oh, so. Oh, I love it.
I will take you to task there. I will take you to task, white boy.
My wife likes to do that to me, you know, because I'll do stuff like that to people all the time. Not even just women, you know. It's not just mansplaining. I'll do it like to my dude friends, and she'll just look at me and be like, "Well, actually," be like, "Hey, come on."
Well, actually, I'm a level 32 paladin.
Your foot taking into account.
I like knowing things and trading knowledge, and if somebody actually is me, I'm always like, oh, really? But you know, I'm a white dude, so.
Yeah, you don't have you need to just apologize for being white and having a penis and just get it over with.
Yeah, sorry. The transgender agenda is coming to take my penis, so.
So transgender.
Just give it up now.
The transgender.
Transgender.
See? It's transgender.
Transgender.
It's the transgender agenda, right? The transgender agenda is the transgender.
It was so hard to say. That was so hard to say.
Well, actually.
Actually, I'm not sexist. I have everyone equal. I hate everyone equally.
We're gonna force feminize, right? We're gonna force feminize everybody else in the chat, right? Yep. That's the trans agenda, right?
Yeah.
Putting all the hormones and the estrogens in your hamburgers and your Mickey D's because the SJWs they done infiltrated corporate America.
My moment where I'm always just like, you know, I know a conversation about like transgender people is gonna go bad is when they say the word castration. It's like, yeah, they're just castrating themselves. Like, okay, this isn't gonna go well. All right, like we're done here. As soon as I see that, I'm like,
it's literally not.
Whenever they say that, that's when you just pull an all relevant and just go, okay, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I love it when Raleigh does that when he's debating people. He just goes, okay, dude, okay.
Okay, dude.
I do end up getting to that point. I'm just like, all right, look, all right. And then as I'm doing it, I'm clicking the ban button. It's like, all right, you're gone. Goodbye. Have a nice day. I hope it was worth it.
I said good day.
I said good day, sir.
I said good. You're fine with that, Frozen? That's okay. We'll work on force feminizing, Mark.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
Frozen had to put in the work.
Oh?
Yeah. Yeah, she was having, I saw her banning a bunch of people. Like, I couldn't read chat, but like, I saw her banning a lot of people who were coming in with all sorts of shit. Someone was trying to send me a link and didn't know how to send a link properly. So, I don't know. I'm still confused at what it was going to say. But it was probably just going to be more Charles Murray bullshit.
Yep.
Guys, if any of what Tony said sounded reasonable to you, I got the link for you, okay? Here's all you need to do. Take 2.5 hours out of your day and go watch Sean's video dispelling the bell curve. It's excellent. You might have to watch it in parts. That's how I had to do it. But it's insanely well done.
I'm not watching 2 hours and 40 minutes, sorry. I don't like it that much.
You don't understand.
It's well done.
The bell curve has been debunked. It's not up to date. And Pony Tony will tell you that. He's not taking the bell curve. He's basing his ideology in more recent, more relevant studies.
Mm.
Like, you evidently don't know this stuff because you're not up to date on race and IQ, obviously. But I mean, no offense, obviously.
I haven't studied it for 10 years. Which I wanted to ask him. I was like, in what capacity have you studied it? In what capacity? Like, are you a scientist? Have you been a part of these studies? What do you do?
No.
Judging by when he used to stream with a cam, it looks like he lives in the fucking box. That's why, like, the only time I've been in his chat, like, after talking to him for a few minutes about the brain sizes thing, I was like, dude, look, I'm so sorry your wife left you for a black dude. I really am. But you need to let it go.
That's actually what you should have asked him.
Yeah. While I had him on, I should have just asked him point blank. Like, dude, did your wife leave you for a black dude? Just, that would explain everything.
Fritus.
Yes, lady?
Vous êtes, pouvez-vous poser une question?
Yes.
Est-ce-vous français?
Oui.
Oui. Ah, okay. Thank you.
Oui.
My French is horrible. I'm sorry.
It's a difficult language. But you don't have to feel sorry.
I only speak freedom.
Carpet Pack said, I told him confirming bias doesn't count as studying. And yeah, you're right, Epic. It is, well, Pony Tony or whatever you... When I first was introduced to him, he was Tony Boney. He didn't last long in my chat. I forget what I was even doing that day. He like came in. I was doing something. Oh, I think I was on a round table, and he was trying to talk to me about like
raising IQ.
Yes, exactly. And I just looked over at him, and like I saw what he was typing in chat, and I just went over and just immediately banned him, and was just like, I didn't even like address it. I was just like, what?
Ban.
Bye. Like, get out of here. Why did I do that to myself?
He is one of those people that Frames and I are going to disagree on this. He is one of those people that does not deserve a voice or a platform. He needs to be pushed into a corner somewhere.
Who?
He is freaking Pony Tony.
No, I agree with that. I was memeing a minute ago. No, Pony Tony doesn't deserve anything. He's already been banned.
He doesn't like me because see the thing is I prescribe to the Mona Altahawe method of like feminism and activism, and that is don't demand civility and decorum politics from marginalized and discriminated individuals, which is something you and I never had a chance to talk about one-on-one. Frames. One of the reasons why like I kind of pushed back on one of the Doomer podcasts is like it does feel like as like sometimes when I'm literally the only minority in the chat, that if I get angry or upset, it's always me that gets counted out when no one else does. And it's like, I think people don't realize that like civility and decorum and all this stuff was stuff that was invented by people in privilege to keep them
back
in privilege.
A little bit, saying normally I have more than one trans person there.
True.
Like 90% of the time, I would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just not. Everybody knows this by now. Everybody knows me on Twitch knows that I'm the angry one. I'm the one that's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's talk about the trans woman that was murdered today. Like, and tell her to be, where was her civility politics? Where was her decorum? Where was her politeness? Right, the trans woman that was assaulted on the subway and spat on and physically assaulted and called out and stuff. Where was her civility politics and her decorum and her politeness from the people that spat on her and beat on her and absolutely destroyed her day? Like, where was the civility politics for the 260 something transgender individuals that were murdered last year? It's like, I'm one of those people that like as soon as somebody throws that out, like, oh, you need to be polite. No, I don't have to be polite. I'm not going to be polite. Well, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you have privilege. I don't. And the thing is it's like, and this is why people don't want me talking to Pony, because I'm literally just going to tell him how much of a sad sack of shit he is, the whole conversation, and get that, the lefty, they resort to the insults and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you are literally talking to a marginalized individual. And I know you don't like Id Polo, my guy, but I'm Native American and trans. and also a disabled veteran. So, like, look,
I take issue with you saying he doesn't like Idpol. He loves Idpol. Are you kidding me?
He likes Idpol? Okay, never mind.
He'll never admit it, but come on. The guy talks about this brain sizes between black people and white people. He loves Idpol. Yeah, just not in the way that he thinks of it. He's using it as, shitty Idpol people. Like, shitty Idpol liberals use it in the same way that he does, except for with slightly less racism. With liberals, it's like, just change the gender and the identity of the person in power, and that'll make things better. With him, it's, I'm going to use this to, their identity and power to marginalize them and boost up my own identity. It's he's doing the same shit.
Yeah, he is, and I'm an individual that uses what you would call identity first language. Mm-hmm. I do actually believe that it's necessary to a degree. Like,
what does that mean exactly?
It means, like, in these sorts of conversations, mentioning the things that you identify with first rather than, like, late or last. So that people have an idea, like, who you are and where you're coming from and things like that. So, like, for example, when I get into these conversations and I respond by being like, hey, you do realize you're talking to somebody that's Native American when you're talking about this sort of stuff, or hey, I am trans. And of course it was like, that's Idpol, that's Idpol, that's Idpol. I'm like, yeah, but that is who I am. And like, I have that language front loaded in my vocabulary and in my speech rather than back loaded. It's, that sort of stuff.
I think there's a lot of people who they get so frustrated with Idpol politics that, like, they forget that you do have to argue from a position of where you are and what you know. Like,
yes.
Like, who you are and everything. Like, it's something that I bake into every stream. It's like, yes, I'm a dude from Flint. Yes, I grew up in a largely black community. Yes, it's been poor. Like, I shape my entire politics around the shit that I've experienced. Everyone should be doing that to some extent, or taking themselves out of their comfort zone to see how the rest of the world lives, because that's the thing that really shaped my politics is, yes, I grew up in this place, but this ain't the only place I lived. I lived in upper class areas and upper class neighborhoods. I've seen how the other side lives, and I can tell you, it's a whole lot different over here than it is, say the fucking west side of Lansing, where I used to live at one point. Like, you the way people like to try to divorce politics from your identity is kind of limited. You can't. No.
It's literally impossible. This is one of the things I've dealt with in the games industry too. Is like, people will say, like, when we're developing. So the last game that I was working on, Grumpy Witch, we allowed people to customize the characters, like skin tone and hair and eyes and dress and everything, and we allowed them to put a hijab on the witch, on Amelia as well. And people were like, give us a lot of shit for that, right wingers obviously, and it's like, well, your problem is like, this game isn't intended for you. But that's the same thing. It's like, why can't you keep your politics out of your art? Because it's art.
Everything is like, politics. Literally,
that's the only thing that I have to respond is, like, it's art. Like,
I always say, like, everything is politics. Honestly, everything has politics.
Especially art. Art.
Oh God, yes. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Do you think that there aren't politics to even the most bland, inoffensive song that's out there?
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
done that way on purpose to appeal to the most people as possible.
Yeah, when you do those songs or your bland picture and whatnot, it takes space. It takes place in a discourse, and therefore it informs culture. It informs how we see ourselves, what we perceive as normal. And every story defines what is normal and what is abnormal, what is desirable and undesirable. And those who say the contrary just don't live in reality.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's why I do the things in the way that I do on this channel. is, I try and tell people, like, there's nothing wrong with attaching your politics to who you are. Obviously, you have to be open to hearing other people's perspectives, but that can help shape it too. But knowing what you've been through is a good starting point for everything.
It keeps you honest, if anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, shit, like, right-wingers do it all the time. If they're rich and they're right-wing, it's directly connected to their ability to want to continue to make more and more obscene amounts of money. Of course they fucking do ID poll in that way. It's just a different kind of ID poll.
You don't understand. They earned it, all right?
They worked hard.
They earned it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They worked hard for Daddy, who earned it all, who inherited it from their grandfather owning an emerald mine. I'm not talking about anyone specifically. Anyways, sorry, it always turns back to Musk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't stand him.
All Musky.
Fuck that guy.
Yep.
I have someone who comes in all the time who wants to argue with me about how Elon Musk is actually a genius and his plans are actually the future. And
he created PayPal, man.
Yeah, you've heard me.
Like I'm supposed to. But,
you've heard me on that because, like, I'm like, no, he didn't. No, he did not create PayPal. Neither, and Bill Gates didn't create Windows. Didn't program one bit of it. None of them did. Like, I was researching Bill Gates one time, and I read this really interesting story because I was curious what exactly he did for Windows, and he originally coded the precursor, okay, but the way he's described when they were making Windows was someone who would basically just come down, yell at everybody. Like, I forget the nickname they gave him, but like it was something like they would call him like the Screamy Troll or something like that.
Oh my god.
And he would challenge everybody to like video games, and he'd have to win. And if he lost, he would be in a really shitty mood and would make them work long hours and shit. But he did no coding. He just yelled at them and financed it.
Oh, sorry, love my life calling me. Have a nice evening, everyone. See ya.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah, I want to get one as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Frames, are you doing podcast tonight?
No, Big Brains tonight.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually on Tuesday, but they switched it this week.
Gotcha.
Twitch.tv/streams, everyone. I do roundtables almost every day of the week, except for Mondays. Yeah, usually I don't do them on Mondays or Fridays. Normally I would do one after Big Brain, but I had to go to the doctor at 8 this morning.
Hey, are you feeling any better?
Yeah. I went to I actually went to a sleep doctor.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, well,
if you don't want to share any of that, talk to me later.
I have to take off too and take my antihistamines.
Oh yeah, you had a long day. I understand why you gotta go.
Yeah.
I hope that was at least entertaining for all you guys. I had fun.
It was. Yeah, it was. It was entertaining. I'll see you both later. Bye, chat.
Right. Later, everyone. Why did I do that? Why did I? Oh, I didn't even catch that. She did say antihistamines. I love it. Oh, why did I do that to myself, guys? Like, who is it that told me about that? Who was it? I can't find them. I almost want to ban them just because they got me to do that. Because, like, Jesus Christ, I got a headache now. You guys know how I do. You saw what I tried to do starting out. I tried to be nice. I tried really hard to be nice and keep it calm. But, like, he kept interrupting me and then accusing me of interrupting him. And, like, all he would do is just insult me. Hands down. Well, you clearly haven't studied this. You clearly don't know. See, this is why the left doesn't know any of this stuff. It's like, Where's the argument here? Where are you addressing the question I asked? I asked you what studies they use. What was the methodology for which they use? Are you going to link the studies? Blows past it. Well, clearly you just don't know. I'm sorry. If you're starting from a place where you're trying to educate somebody, telling them, well, clearly you don't know this thing already that I'm going to bring to you, is not a good way to teach them jack shit. All it's going to do is make people just go, well, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to talk to you. You're an asshole. Boredom is a powerful thing, guys. Boredom is a powerful thing. And I do need to talk to more people on the street. Because people like that. People like that. Clearly, I have a higher academic standard. I do. I literally do. I expect people to, I don't know, prove what it is they're saying. Like, I would like to research the studies to which he arrived these conclusions. I know for one, the study that he was talking about, it came to the conclusion that society had more of a deal into it. It's like, that's why I kept talking about population density and the way we fund our schools and poverty. Like, I've lived in this shit. I don't think the black people in my city are poor and uneducated simply because they're black. I think they're like that because I watched the conditions they grew up in. Because I can tell you the school I went to was actually really nice. It's one of the more affluent areas of Flint. You know, it's not even Flint City, it's Flint Township. So, you know, I tell people that, and it's like, the black people from that school are doing well. Not all of them, but they're doing better than if they grew up in Flint Northern District or Flint Central, which don't exist anymore, to give you any idea of the condition of the schools in Flint. Like, all that exists in Flint anymore is, let's see here, there's Kearsley, Southwestern, and there's one more I can't even think of. But all the, like, you know, Flint Central, Flint Southwestern, Flint Northwestern, which we all had, they're all gone. Those schools existed when I was in high school, and things were bad then. If you can't see the correlation there, you're purposely ignoring it. Talking around it isn't going to drive you to a proper conclusion. You're just going to be talking around it, and you're just going to be constantly trying to confirm your own bias. And I say, fuck that guy. Oh, Dorian. Did you just get here? Did you just get here? I tried to debate Pony Tony. If you want to see how that went, I'll try and clip it out later for YouTube, because why not? But you can watch the VOD after I'm done. I'm getting ready to finish.